I want to tell you a story. It is the tale of a curious girl named Indigo, a girl once brimming with wonder, who was suddenly surrounded by forces beyond her understanding. A girl who escaped her captors and finally found a home she could call her own in the middle of a lonely forest. A girl who spent her year there watching lovely people through windows formed by her best friend's magical paintbrush. Do you want to know what happened next? Okay, I'll tell you. On a misty forest morning, as dreamless as any other, Indigo awoke to something she had never seen before. Floating above her was this shapeless mass of black and gray, looming, shifting, slowly, almost flawlessly, impersonating a defective cloud. Its crisp outline of jagged edges melted into smooth corners. What seemed like an invisible shell surrounded it, and erratic bursts of color combinations flashed violently from and around it. As Indigo tried to recognize a single color, managing only to fail and forget the attempt, her body shuddered vehemently, and she couldn't move a limb to save her sanity. "Who are you?" she managed to blurt out.
When am I? Now.
"Are you one of the colors?"
I am all colors, yet I am none.
"Why are you here?"
You might finally be ready, Bibelot.
"Are you going to hurt me?"
The only one who can do that is you.
Silence took the room. The object froze. With unexpected force, Indigo swung her head upwards, cracking her neck and closing her eyes. "What do you want?" Ah! Indigo managed to lift her sore arms and rub her eyes. When she opened them again, the oddity was still there, hovering and more translucent than before. Ah! Indigo rubbed her eyes, looked up. She'd never noticed it before, but the ceiling sure looked spotless for an old abandoned house. Of course, even the dirtiest ceiling would have been better than whatever that thing was. I guess that's what they call a nightmare? She shrugged it off. All of the people watching through magical windows must have gotten to her. Indigo jolted up, her body suddenly registering the overwhelming cold. Being soaked in sweat does that to you. Good times. A clumsy stumble to the bathroom and some fumbling with the faucet later, she managed to splash lukewarm water on her face. This made her feel a little better, but the notion that something was off would not leave her mind. Indigo stared at the faint flurry of colors swirling around her face in the mirror. Lowering her gaze to the sink, she took a few more moments to admire the soft glow of flowing tints. Soon enough, the memory of the day's startling beginning had faded enough for Indigo's smile to return. Today was coloring day. Something about the simplicity of the act, the sensation of sprawling on the floor, crayons in hand, mind free to wander in directions no more or less concrete than the notion of thought itself. What could possibly be more soothing? This activity was so soothing, in fact, that Indigo failed to notice the opaque blur of warped colors and blackness lingering behind her.
How long will you continue to ignore it?
Startled, Indigo spun around. Ignore what? There was nothing there. Where are you? Silence. In one intense sweeping motion, Indigo flung the bright crayon from her hand, shattering it against the wall. "Why won't any of you show yourselves?" But there was no reply. The blurry beings of color that she was screaming at, the ones she'd become so fond of, were nowhere to be felt. "Answer me!" At this point, Indigo would even settle for the weird being she'd seen in her nightmare. At least then she could ask. Something. Anything. But no. The only colors around were the pile of crayons on the floor, the meticulous drawing of the flower-filled garden next to them, and the sad former instrument of art dripping and piddling its orange off the somber gray wall. "Where are you?" Indigo was alone. Time bows to no crisis. No matter how hard she tried, Indigo could not regain her sense of balance. She drew and drew until the hours meshed into days. By the time all her homemade crayons were used up, Indigo still felt no better. Not even opening the windows to the other dimension could brighten her mood. In fact, seeing all those people she called her friends, but not being able to interact with them, made her feel much worse. She swished and swirled, the brush fibers flitting and forming more and more chasms, until the large room was brimming with images of people talking, dancing, laughing. Indigo had to wonder, could the magical brush given to her by Magenta have lost its power? Maybe using it so much tainted it somehow? But no, that's crazy. It still created windows that showed that other place. The problem couldn't be with the brush. It was working perfectly fine. And in that singular, devastating moment, Indigo realized the problem. The friendship she cherished so much with these people from another reality had always been one-sided. Not a single one of them could see her, which perhaps was for the best, Indigo thought. Maybe the scientist knew something Indigo was only now beginning to understand, that she was nothing more than an object of curiosity. Her parents must have known this too. So why would these so-called friends be any different? Why would they even accept this little outcast freak? Consumed by this persistent and unfamiliar hollow feeling, Indigo decided to take action. For the first time in a very long while, she went outside. Faint beams of sun swatted at her delicate eyes, forcing loose and erratic bolts of blackened, blood-like droplets to surge into her sight. Something about this day was off. Indigo knew she would be venturing further than she had in a long time, but no, that was not it. It was vague, nameless, something that could only be understood by experience. And so, the curious little girl turned around and admired the splintered wooden frame of the place she called home. As she caressed it, an unknown emotion in the pit of her soul shuttered off its blurry edges. Indigo sighed. "Goodbye. Please take care of yourself," she whispered to the place she had come to call home. It did not whisper back.